Thank you for joining Catholic Gen X. We think McDLT is the most underrated sandwich at McDonald's.
No, I don't.
What was that one? Was it the McDLT with the two-part, like
The hot
keep the
stays hot and the cool
yes.
stays cool.
And all that styrofoam packaging?
How we destroyed the
Well,
earth.
you sure that wasn't
Keep
that wasn't
temperature
the Big
control.
Tasty with the double clamshell?
That's
Big-
what I'm asking.
Oh, Big Tasty. That was more the 90s, though, wasn't it?
I don't know. All I know is the McDLT. That was never my thing. But you
I
did
did like
John.
the DLT.
I did too.
Yeah.
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 We've set back, I guess, the earth by probably, a million years, but it was a good sandwich.
Imagine what we were doing to our bodies.
I hear hardening as we speak. So
We made it to 50.
But have you heard there's people are putting pressure on McDonald's to bring back the beef tallow to fry the fries in?
Oh, yeah.
Because, we went through that period where we
Right.
thought all fats were bad, and now we
Right.
realize, but beef tallow doesn't have any other crap in it.
Right.
It's just beef tallow. Yeah.
I'm all about it. Those were the good fries.
they were good. So we're actually right around now, assignment weekend, at least here for us
Yeah.
locally. Assignments have been made, they've been posted and things like that too. And Tom had a great idea maybe to talk a little bit about that, what that's like a bit for priests and even what it's like for us as lay people too. So announcements are out, they're in like our local newspaper and things like that too. And so Father Peter's got some continued his current assignment and has a new one too. So
Yeah. The funny thing, I keep laughing. People, meaning all the best, keep congratulating me on acquiring another job on top of being pastor. And
That's what you get for being so efficient.
right. I keep internally, I keep laughing and being like, if you got handed a mandatory second full-time job, would you want me to congratulate you about that? Right? So
sounds more like punishment than reward.
it is a little bit of punishment. I think anytime I have to make an announcement, it is a little bit of anxiety over, are people going to understand what I'm saying? Are they going to hear what I'm saying? Even if I'm not, in this case, I'm not moving, I will be spending a little bit less time at the parish. But you, as a priest, I think, well, at least for me, I really grow to love the place where I am, and most of the people at the place where I am, and even thinking about that someday in the future I will be saying goodbye, gives me it tightens my chest a little bit. So, yeah, I think I used to tell seminarians when I worked full time in formation that a priest is a man whose heart is a man whose heart is able to be broken and broken often, right?
Wow.
So I think whenever I leave an assignment, it does break my heart a little bit. It's sad.
It's going to be on his last day, he's going to grab your face and kiss you on the mouth and say,
No.
"You broke my heart, John."
No, that will never happen.
It's not going to be just like Michael and
But I think
Godfather.
I do think the headline for this episode should be "Breaking news: Father Peter has a heart."
Well, I was thinking
That's
that
fair.
it's dispelling, the nickname Father Mean. So
Right.
So, John, I have a question for you. I feel like I'm weird for lots of reasons.
Go on.
But I look so forward to that issue when all the new assignments... Because for me, it's almost like the NFL draft.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited to see who's going where.
We should,
And I
run
don't
a
know
board
why.
and-
I don't know why that interests me so much, but it does.
Okay.
Is that unusual?
Oh, well, it's not unusual for priests.
Right, but you know in advance.
We're gossiping for months. We
Yeah.
don't know in advance. I mean, unless we know our assignment in advance. But
So when you opened that up and looked, you didn't know all those?
Well, I did, personally. But most priests do not. I think, there's a lot, there's a lot of chatter for the 2 months or so leading up to announcement weekend about what's happening, and we can kind of know, who's retiring, and so, who do we think might be going there or whatever, or obvious openings that we know exist. So
It's probably just because I like chaos.
Sure.
And so the whole
Right.
change.
I don't believe you like chaos. I think you like things very much the same, and you would really hope that we could go back to COVID so you wouldn't have to leave the house.
Right.
Grow your
We
Ted
talked
Kaczynski
about
beard
this.
again.
We
and-
talked about this. I think that should happen once every 10 years. Okay. Just like the Jubilee.
Just like
Okay.
the Jubilee.
Well, I guess we'll see in 2030. So, I think from the layperson standpoint, we don't really know. So, Father Peter at the Vigil Mass was, going to the altar. He wasn't the presider. Then everybody started kind of like shifting in their pews and their seats a little bit.
Well, because he'd been telling everybody who would listen.
That's right.
You better be here.
Right.
You better be here. Big announcement. You better be here.
He did. And then I'd heard a couple older ladies like, they're starting to get worried, and like nobody clapped,
Right, right.
Nobody laughed, anything like that too. And then the chatter started almost immediately.
And you were dressed like an altar server because there were no vestments available, right?
I had a collar, a cassock, a surplice, and a stole on. So I was only in the most remote sense dressed like an altar server.
Well, you just had the simple white, whatever that is.
Surplice.
Yeah.
With a stole on over it.
I can't be bothered with those details.
My guess is somewhere in the back of the closet, there's probably some other, very colorful or interesting vestments you
Yeah.
could have worn. A la 1970s.
Ooh, that one you had with the death skull. Didn't it have a skull? The one you borrowed from Marion?
Oh, the black one for
Yeah.
All Souls Day. Yeah, that was gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah.
I do think, to Father Peter's point, though, it's kind of where the laity, we do grow close with the priests that we were, as far as the lead our parish. And I think there's a sense of where some that's very disorienting. Assignments tend to change more quickly now than they would have probably
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago. Priests may have like additional responsibilities. And I think it's also where when they are reassigned or transferred somewhere else, it becomes very disorienting. So we have like our associate pastor who was here for a year. Our previous associate was here probably, was it 2 years?
No, it was
was it a year?
like 15 months.
Yeah, so I mean, there's certainly a change that we're going to have a new associate this coming July.
So I hate to call it the 12-year rule because it's not really a rule, right? The 12-year
Right.
guideline.
Right.
That's fairly new. Is it
Yes.
unique to our diocese?
So up until 1983, so from AD 33 to 1983, which is quite a long time, pastors were generally appointed for life. They could be asked to move, but not forced to move. So the 1983 Code of Canon Law said that bishops' conferences, so like the USCCB for us, can set terms for pastors, and that they could then be appointed for a term or a series of terms depending on the local law, the law of each diocese or archdiocese. So the USCCB set that you could either appoint somebody without term, so for life basically, or for a term of 6 years. And then, so in the archdiocese from, 1986 or so, 87, guys have been appointed for a term renewable once. And so kind of the 12-year standard. The other piece of it is our custom is if you are older and nearing retirement, if you would not have a full 6-year term at a new assignment before you're eligible for retirement, you can ask to stay. So like the previous pastor did 17 years because he wouldn't have been a full 6-year term. And moving's hard on people, so that's a kindness to priests.
So in the olden days, when you were assigned for life, it could be like outstanding or just dreadful.
Yeah. So, but only the pastor.
Only the pastor. Associate pastors have no terms.
So how is there like a minimum term of service before you're eligible to be a pastor?
No, I mean, we try to make it as long as possible to be helpful to newly ordained so that they learn how to be a priest. They learn like mechanics of celebrating the sacraments. Hopefully, they're also in a place where the pastor's teaching them some administration. I would say our typical term for associates is 3 years, but
Before they're eligible to be a pastor?
right. But it's been as short as 1 year and as long as 5 that I know of. So,
And then once you get to a certain age, you're not eligible to be a pastor anymore, right? Then you have a different...
so at 70, you can apply you can apply for retirement. You can ask the bishop, the archbishop, for retirement. At 75, you can no longer serve as pastor, but you can be appointed as administrator on a 1-year recurring basis.
All right, one final question down this
Yeah.
line. Speaking for the laity, which is dangerous,
Okay.
I don't know that we really understand the Monsignor designation.
So, Monsignor comes from the Italian. The rough translation is my lord, but that doesn't mean divinity. It means like the English, your lordship, right? Like a noble, an aristocrat. It is an largely honorary designation given for length of service, particular special service, or particular jobs. So every vicar general is technically a Monsignor while they hold the role of vicar general.
Oh, but then once they...
But once they get a new assignment, then they are no longer Monsignor unless their bishop submits to Rome to have them named a Monsignor outside of their role.
So the designation comes from the Vatican, not from the
Right.
bishop?
Because technically a Monsignor is a prelate or chaplain to His Holiness the Pope.
Ah.
That's where it comes from.
So now I said last question, but I do have a follow-up.
Of course.
So what about the distinction between reverend and very reverend?
So there are certain positions in the church, rector. Well, actually, a lot of them circle around the title rector. So rector of the cathedral, rector of a seminary, dean, that are given the honorific of very reverend rather than just reverend. So the most formal way to address me is as Reverend Father Peter Marshall. But for our dean, you would call him Very Reverend Father Steve Giannini.
So now Father Andy will be the very
Reverend Andy Simon.
Oh, that's gotta...
Yeah.
So should we call you the kind of reverend?
I'm just
Almost
Almost reverend?
simple parish priest.
Don't sell yourself short.
I could see it like a Vandy plate, like, MSGR. Right. I think he'd probably like that. Tom has his boys calling him my lord anyway, so. More mead, Dad? Yes. Yes, my lord. Yes, more mead.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, something else we have going on here, we'll be here locally, is the Eucharistic Congress
Yeah.
coming up. So
First National Eucharistic Congress in like 80 years.
So my understanding is they're going to get nothing done because there's going to be a filibuster on the first day.
Right. Not that kind of Congress. Congress meaning gathering, getting together. So, and around the theme of the Eucharist and how we might live that out in our lives and better, more deeply enter into it. So
I've heard rumblings that historically this is an event that is big enough that would justify a papal visit.
it would, except Pope Francis does not like America,
I've heard that.
and so
People are going to hear this.
not the Pope.
I think if you Google any
only found
Catholic
this
news site, it doesn't matter if it's a Catholic news site that loves Pope Francis or that hates Pope Francis. They're all agreed he doesn't really care much for America. So
Well, and my guess is this is not a top 10 Catholic podcast.
Right.
Certainly not nationally, but not even internationally.
Keep having hot takes like that. You don't know.
That's true. Sound bites.
This was not groundbreaking.
Yeah, I'm calling Newsy as soon as I get home.
So, Tom, are you going to the Eucharistic Congress?
We've talked about it. Earlier this evening, we talked about sometimes my failure to plan too far in advance.
Right.
So that's kind of on the outer
Tickets
edges.
are still available.
Yeah, that's that's on the outer edges of my ability to plan ahead, John. How about you?
I thought about it. My spiritual director recommended that my family and I go to it.
Well, you want to go and see Father Mike Schmitz, right?
He's pretty hunky, yeah.
He's dreamy.
I mean, so it'll be that one will be sold out, I think, for sure. So in the Father Mike calendars and everything else. So
Meanwhile, I have to work it.
Are you gonna be the petulant child sitting all the way out by yourself?
That was not my choice. You make it sound like I moved a chair at NCYC all the way out into the middle of nowhere to sit by myself.
I need to figure out how to get a copy of that picture.
I have one somewhere on my phone.
So what is the impetus of the Eucharistic Congress? Is that the USCCB?
So yes, it comes from the USCCB, particularly Bishop Andrew Cousins, the bishop of not Duluth, Crookston, Minnesota, a very good man. He was the impetus behind the Eucharistic Revival, which has been going on for the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. And that it would culminate in a national Eucharistic Congress. And again, I think part of it was, hey, we haven't done one in America in 80 years. In other countries, they do them every 10 or 20 years, and we just haven't done one for a while. Part of it was engendered by that study that came out a few years ago that said, the vast majority of Catholics either don't understand or don't agree with our church's teaching on the Eucharist, that the Eucharist is the actual body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. Many people think it's a symbol. Many people think it's something, but not that. And so this is a multi-year effort to kind of help people engage with the truth and the reality of the Eucharist. And this should be a great, 5 days or so of talks and getting together with other people who understand and believe in the Eucharist, and just recharging your faith so that you can return home strengthened and energized to kind of evangelize your fellow Catholics and your neighbors about the Eucharist and the truth of the faith.
Mm-hmm. Makes you wonder, though, if people don't believe in the real presence, then why do they even go to Mass? I think it's kind of a curious thing. I don't know what the motivation is.
So the Catholic author Sherry Weddell wrote a great book called Intentional Disciples. And she posited that there's a lot of people who go to church because they believe that it's good for them to go to church, and they trust the Catholic Church, or they trust church, and they want to be good people, and maybe even with a somewhat of an eternal perspective, they want to go to heaven. And so they go to church fairly regularly, but they don't connect on a deep level. They don't have a personal relationship with Christ, particularly Christ in the Eucharist. So
that's kind of like
also 70% or more, 80% of Catholics don't go to Mass on a Sunday, any given Sunday.
Well, and for Gen Z, millennials, they're probably 10%.
Right,
actually going
right.
to Mass or practicing
Yes.
any kind of faith.
I think it's that low.
For millennials, it's 15%. And
Well,
for
they're
Gen
smarter
Z,
than everybody else.
They are. Just ask them. For Gen Z, it's 10-15%.
So I don't know if you've looked, but there are a lot of really good speakers at the Eucharistic Congress.
Yes.
To Father
Yeah.
Mike, but
Yep.
We'll be hosting one at the parish. She reach out to me. It's a woman whose writings I've read for many years, and her last book was on the priest who was Bill W.'s spiritual director and advisor in forming AA. Mm-hmm. And so we'll have a little talk on Sunday afternoon about
interesting.
That and the Catholic connection to AA, and yeah, should be good.
Tom, I think we should go down there, maybe tailgate, have like the big foam finger,
right.
And number one.
I want to get that big. Remember, Father Kevin Morris had that big Pope hat that he would wear. You guys are familiar with this?
No idea.
Yeah, he did.
All right.
Which seems on brand for him.
It
right?
does. It does.
Yeah.
That's not where I thought you were going to go.
That big neck.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go the hat that has like the foam dome. Put 2 cans in there.
No. No.
Get you fired up for the big talks and stuff like that too. I do think though that those. I mean, would that be considered a pilgrimage?
Yeah, I do think so. I think I mean, for us here, it's not much of a journey, but anytime we journey to meet God, I think that's a pilgrimage, right?
Mm-hmm. So here's a money-making idea for Gen X Catholic. Mm-hmm. We can sell indulgences in the parking lot.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we cannot sell indulgences anywhere, let alone the parking lot at the Eucharistic Congress.
Did you think I really meant that?
I do. I worry about you.
If anybody buys fake indulgences from Tom in the parking lot,
right?
I'll pray for you.
Did you notice the problem with what he said? If anybody buys fake indulgences.
That's right.
Well, from you, they would be fake indulgences.
Bring cash. Bring cash. Yeah,
I thought the whole buying indulgences was kind of...
It's illegal. Yes. Yes.
It caused a lot
fake
of problems.
Fake or not.
Back in the day, a lot of problems.
Yeah, what was it? I think it might have been you that told me that if you took all the pieces of the true cross would be like 8 stories tall.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot. It's a lot.
I know that's not an indulgence, yes.
Yeah, but it's still part of the snake oil salesman part of it to some of that. People misrepresenting things, stuff like that too. But I think I'd like to take the family down there. I've talked to them about it. I didn't get any eye rolls, which, I mean, is a win right there.
One of mine will be there for the entire thing.
Oh, really?
Is your middle one going like through the Marian University program? Good.
You're the one who gave him a scholarship.
Well, I can't remember. There were and people have dropped out of the scholarship, and yes.
So he'll just be attending like all the talks, and
that's my understanding. Yeah,
there's a youth track. So
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hear the kind of questions that.
No.
You think they will have a? Now I always say Nephilim. You say it differently.
I do. Nephilim.
Maybe you don't. Will there be like a giant replica Nephilim in the and
there will be.
You can get your picture taken with it.
What is it? What's the History Channel show? Ancient Historians or Ancient whatever?
Ancient Aliens.
Ancient Aliens. There's a track just for Ancient Aliens and the Eucharist.
You remember that old A&E show, Mysteries of the Bible?
Yes.
That was a good show.
Yeah.
They should bring that back.
I thought you were going to say Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack.
Well, but it kind of had that.
A little bit.
It kind of, you remember the old Ripley's Believe It?
Yeah.
That Mysteries of the Bible had kind of that same vibe to it.
Did you ever go on a family vacation to one of the Ripley's museums?
So we did go to the types of places where those museums were there, but my father was super cheap, and there's zero chance of him paying for us to go in something like that.
So you'd sit in the station wagon, look out the window, seeing people go in. They're like they're having a good time, kids.
Yeah,
but they're not because they don't have money.
we never the kind of tourist trappy roadside attraction. No, that was never
Corn Palace.
Never in the budget for. No, we did get we'd get to play the single round of miniature golf.
Sure.
If you're really good, you might get to race the go-karts.
Oh, okay.
But no, we
was it you got one ball and everybody just took a turn playing the hole? Or?
Wow. No, not exactly. Yeah, we weren't wealthy like your family, where we summered in the hottest part of the nation in the hottest month of the year.
That's right. That's how I do it. Well, I tan so well. That's this 100-watt light bulb right now is probably getting a little bit of a
You're starting to bubble a little bit.
Yeah. But I do think it's something that we should definitely encourage. We're doing it here at the parish, encouraging people to go to. Something good, certainly, because I assume this is being promoted nationally, like through the bishops.
I would hope so.
I would think so.
Yeah.
So what about the new? I think it's new. I don't remember them in the past when we were kids. The roadside tourist trap with like the religious aspect to it now. Like there's actually a Holy Lands theme park in Orlando.
Yeah.
And then down in Kentucky you have
the Creation Museum.
Yeah, and then you got the Ark.
So the one time I've been to Orlando, to Universal Studios theme park, that museum of the Holy Land, or the theme park of the Holy Land or whatever, was between our hotel and Universal Studios. And so every day of our trip, I would beg my co-vacationers, who were other priests, to stop and let me tour the theme park of the Bible or whatever it was, and they refused.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very rude.
My older boys wanted to go last time we were down there. But my wife and I had a little bit of a suspicion that they kind of just wanted to make fun.
Oh, that sounds about right.
For your boys.
But to be clear, for the people who don't know them, not make fun of the religious aspect.
Right.
No.
Make fun of
the cheesiness of it.
and what they would view the heretical aspect.
Right. It's because it's clearly Protestant. Yeah.
Dad, we're going to go over the serpents and strychnine land to go ride the roller coaster.
Right.
These people are all going to hell, Dad.
Yes.
So was that part of Disney, or was that just something separate?
Oh,
There's
no.
something separate.
Totally
People are taking.
I assume that, but I
People are taking advantage of the fact that millions of tourists a year go there for
They're already
Disney,
there.
and so why not stop in Bible Land?
Why not, Tom?
I probably could have been talked into it.
I definitely. I mean, I was driving the ship.
You wanna do
I
it?
wanted to. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's make a pilgrimage.
All right.
Let's do an episode on location.
Can you carry this microphone around?
I think we can. That's right.
Dr. John.
Excuse me, sir.
Dr. John.
Dr. John carrying the microphone around.
Right. I'm sorry, I'm not licensed in Florida.
We'll have a guys' weekend at Bible Land, USA. Yes.
Wow. That sounds really exciting.
Well, we'll have to stop at the Creation Museum on the way down.
On the way.
Oh, yeah.
See how the dinosaur fit on the ark. And
Like, we also have to bring our own booze because none of these places would sell booze. So
I've got all kinds of irreverent jokes, but I'm going to let it
keep
go.
it off mic, Tom.
well, my assumption is Father Peter will wear his clerics wear the collar and there'll be gas everywhere and people like running away. And
Right.
He's going to have holy water.
Oh. Are we done?
I think that's it.
This one's gone off the rails a little bit.
I will say, though, that to invite listeners
Yeah.
Yes,
to send us email, questions,
comments.
we'll have...
Crazier the better.
As I like to say, questions, comments, or snide remarks.
That's right.
Right.
You can totally do that at Catholic Gen X, that's the letter X, at protonmail.com. So,
And if you're not going to get a virus by sending to that weird email address.
and if you do, we're not actually trapped in some country in Africa that we need money. We've been ransomed.
I need no gift cards, no matter what
that's
emails
right.
you receive.
That's right.
It's not from me.
Father Peter, Tom, great being with you.
Thank you.
Look forward to if you tune in next time.